everyone. Welcome to JP's Budget Collecting, and I tried a new intro, so hopefully you heard that. And we will go from there. This is another episode of Gotham City Chronicles, and always I got my partner in crime for these, Comic Books NYC. Kavi, what's going on, man?
Huh? Oh, I almost fell asleep during your intro.
It is a little long.
It's like you caught me dozing at the end of the intro there. No, but I'm good. This is a book that I think I read for the first time several years ago, and then had a long break from it, and had wanted to do it on the show as my reason to reread it. So I'm glad we got around to it.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we are doing Batman Year 100, and we do have a guest as always tonight, and our guest is Old Wolf. What's going on, man?
How you doing? Hey, thanks for having me. Great book.
It's awesome. You got the single issues, huh?
Yeah, I picked these off the shelf when they first came out.
Nice.
So I'm gonna before we get too far into this, I want to talk about something we were talking about a little bit beforehand, which is you said you picked this off the shelf. Before Kavi mentioned this, I had never heard of this story. I had no idea this story existed. I've never heard anybody else talk about it. And you brought this up because you were like, you hadn't heard anybody else talk about Old Wolf. You were like, you couldn't believe we were doing this. So I'm curious, you said you found it on the shelf. What got you to grab it off the shelf and read it at the time?
Well, first was the title, of course. But this was the first time I ever saw Paul Pope.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it seemed just different. The art was different. It wasn't perfect. And if you pick up the book and go through pages, you see the art looks almost rough, or it's not Neil Adams, put it that way. Okay. So I saw the title, I saw the name, I saw the art. So I thought I'd pick it up and I picked up all the 4 issues. The story was great.
Nice. Now, Kavi, you said you said Paul Pope was how you got intrigued with this?
Well, yeah, I'm actually super into Paul Pope's art, similar to how I'm super into Frank Miller's art up until a certain point. You know what I mean? And I think there are parallels here, maybe not necessarily between Batman Year 1 and Batman Year 100. Mazzucchelli did the artwork on Year 1, but more Dark Knight. I would say that there's more of a parallel here from Dark Knight Returns to this Year 100 story, not only from an artwork perspective, but just from he's dropping you in the middle of something brand new, just like Frank Miller did with Dark Knight Returns. And he's not necessarily filling in all the holes for you. He's giving you something really fresh to experience and interpret for yourself in many ways. And, obviously we're going to get deeper into the storylines and the plot points and, what questions are answered and what questions weren't answered and all those things. But I would say as a body of work, this is one of my favorite Batman stories because there's nothing quite else like it. You know what I mean? We're what, 18 episodes into this, and there's hundreds of Batman stories. There is nothing like this story that I've read since, and until Paul Pope decides to do a follow-up, I don't think there will be anything like it until that point. You know what I mean? I think I read it at 4-ish years ago, but it came out in 2007 or something like that, 2006, 2007. And he won the Eisner for best limited series. He won the Eisner for best writer / artist. So this was like the critical darling of 2007. 2007 was a time when I was no longer into comics. You know what I mean?
Me neither.
So it kind of falls in that sort of black hole period for me. But I am so glad that I did discover it when I did discover it, and I really, really did enjoy rereading it and experiencing this art again. Just to give you an idea, Paul Pope's art carries a lot of gravitas, in the art collecting community as well. His artwork is so sought after and in demand. Recently, a Paul Pope version of his Batman from Batman Year 100, just a standalone illustration that went up for like a charity auction to raise money for the NAACP or something like that. It went up for like $30,000.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not even a published, image. You know what I mean? Just like a one-off drawing.
I don't think I realized. I knew he was fairly popular, but I didn't realize he was that popular.
He's, so he's considered, one of the great, modern contemporary, like, stylistic artists in this medium. So, and much like Frank Miller being that writer-artist combination on Dark Knight Returns, I get, that's the one like combination of creative talent towards a Batman story. I know we haven't covered that, and we have our reasons for not having covered that, but it's but it's if you dig that kind of thing, like something different, but something standalone, then this I think you would dig it. If you're that kind of reader out there.
All right. Well, before we go any further, let me shout out this chat. We got several people who have hopped in here. I'm going to scroll back to the top. Jay Hood was in the house. What's going on, Jay Hood? The Unruly Simeon always hangs out with us. We appreciate it. Jimmy Geek Aficionado may already be gone. He said he didn't want spoilers, but appreciate you dropping in for a minute, Jimmy. Let's see. Big Will has arrived. What's going on, Big Will?
Hello.
Rob Boswell, thank you for hanging out with us. Let's see. Mr. Girl, what's going on? Ruben, thank you. What's up? Newbie Comics, thank you. The chat just jumped on me. I don't know where I'm at. Let's see. I think might be everybody. So thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us a little bit. We're going to be digging into this a little bit. So let's just start as usual. Usually we start with the art. Let's start with the art on this. I mean, like for me, it starts like literally. I knew nothing about this. Like the fact that it won Eisners and stuff. Like I was like, what the heck? Like I had no clue. I'd never heard of this story. So you just kept saying, we need to read this. We need to read this. Oh, that is an awesome.
So these are his pencils for the cover. And then you see also his inks. So he does the pencils and the inks, and he wrote the story. The only other artist involved is Jose. I can't pronounce his name. Villarrubia. Villarrubia. Yeah, he does the color work. But so there's the inked version. But I just the motorcycle combination, Batcycle, Batmobile. I mean, he calls it the Batmobile in the story, but I just love that character design.
Okay, the inside of your book is better than the inside of my trade that I grabbed, but I will say that this image, like that was on the inside of the trade when I first opened this up.
That's a great splash page.
Yeah, and it's actually it's an image from inside the book a little later, but that's just the inside of the trade. And
that's when he clears the 20-foot gap.
The 20-foot gap, yeah. And like I was like, okay, there's something like pretty special going on here. Whoa, yeah. If I can get my camera to focus, we'll go back to this, and then you won't notice it. But yeah, it actually shows up in the book like on page 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Basically, he's being chased by a bunch of rabid dogs. Basically, like he's got dogs.
I mean,
like
the story itself opens with this splash page of him running and bleeding, and across a roof, being chased by these dogs, and you really don't know. And the one thing I will say, I talked to Tony about this a little bit before we started. It was like I didn't know what to expect. Batman Year 100, I had no but my expectations was a more futuristic world than what we get, and we don't really get a futuristic world other than some of the technologies they use is a little bit futuristic, but as far as like the world itself, it looked very grounded and not necessarily today, but in a world that's not that different from any of the other comic book worlds.
Because we're dealing with the year 2039 here, in theory. 1939, Batman made his debut in Detective Comics 27. So the setting for this is 100 years after Batman became a thing. So the year is 2039 here, and I think some of the technology things that come into play are like telepath investigators or cops.
Yep.
There are hologram. It's like Star Wars style communication. Hologram. Hologram FaceTime basically.
Yeah.
Things like that. But other than that, I mean, well, and then there's also things like
the little jump chips that they're using
exactly.
to like track him and stuff. But otherwise it's very.
Otherwise, it's pretty like
rounded.
Yeah.
I mean, the normal cars don't fly. The normal cars are on the road. Like, you already seen the splash page of him in the motorcycle. Like, he still has a bat cycle. It's not this crazy futuristic world that I was sort of expecting by Batman Year 100. But now that I've seen Paul Pope's art, which I wasn't very familiar with Paul Pope before this started, it's like, okay, yeah, that would never fit with him anyway. Like,
yeah,
that's totally not who he is, and clearly not what he does.
No, the art does fit the story. That's for sure.
It does.
Yeah.
It gives me a very, updated Dark Knight Returns style with a different character designs, but you can see him pulling influences from Frank Miller.
I mean, there is a lot of Dark Knight Returns influences in this because you said it's not true. It's not like post-apocalyptic or anything, but there is kind of this overarching like 1984 state that they're basically monitoring everybody. They like Big Brother is watching sort of thing is going on here. People's freedoms are reduced. There's a little bit of the capes are kind of gone. Superheroes are gone. There's sort of people don't really remember them if they were real or not kind of thing. They're sort of legends. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on that the government's kind of taking control in a way that is sort of a police state is like what we're looking at. And yeah, the art, some of these pages are just like,
yeah, there's some great art.
Because we were supposed to be talking about the art and just like, this is one of him on the bike. And then this building. I mean, just.
Yeah, that's the same page I flipped to just now, too.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to make it faster, and I wanted to make it bigger. Sorry. That was. So. But
yeah, I mean, it's this intentionally, like, deranged looking Batman. You know what I mean? Because as a reader, or whatever, as someone who's experiencing this story through both his artwork and his writing, you're trying to figure it out that which Batman is this? Is this the Batman I know? Is this some other Batman? Is this Robin Batman? Is this and the heart of the mystery in the story is like, which version of Batman am I reading? How could it possibly be the original Batman? And things like that. And I think the character design plays into that perfectly, right? Because you're constantly, either impressed or concerned about how old this guy is, or what injuries does he have? What kind, like, did he take some sort of like TMNT, like mutagen at some point to like, that is like the drama, I think, of the story. There are a lot of other story beats, but the artwork plays into that drama of like, who is Batman? What is Batman? Why has he been gone for so long? And why is he back now? You don't get all the answers, which
you get none of the answers.
Yeah, I mean, well, you kind of get allusions to answers, but it's not like a story that like gets wrapped up neatly in a bow. It's kind of an open to interpretation story and ending even, which we'll get to. But like from an artwork standpoint, his whole approach to the artwork plays into that the whole time. So I found that very impressive.
1 second.
I mean,
What'd you think of it? Yeah, that's a good one. Well, that's when he's like, that's when he's in that like,
chaps, I guess.
yeah, when he's like doing a Mission Impossible
Right.
move or whatever. What was that? He was sneaking into the FCP lab or something like
Right.
that, right?
He wanted to see the body, but then they told him that they had his blood sample.
That's right.
So he went to get the blood sample.
Right.
And they
Because he doesn't want people knowing who he is. Basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love the Reds in the usage of the I mean, it's like dentures almost.
Yeah.
You know, like
he puts it in his mouth and he can't talk.
And like that played into my like what like, you know, is he actually like, is this like 120-year-old Batman? You know, like what am I dealing with here?
No, I mean, I think that was just for the show because to scare who's ever in front of him.
Look at that cover. I think that's issue 3, right? This cover.
Yeah, that's issue 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
Dude, I mean,
here, let me make that big.
So you're looking at the end of 2 and the cover of 3.
Yeah.
Because she asked she couldn't understand what he was saying, and am I supposed to keep talking about this?
Yeah, no, we just talk about whatever.
And then Robin,
whatever you want.
Robin says he can't talk right when he has the teeth in, you know, so he puts that for the scare, because these people, I mean, they're going against him. The soldiers are going against him, and he's doing that for the scare to give them Didn't
he use like some sort of like chemical thing or whatever to create some sort of psychosis in his who he was facing, so that he looks like a demon or something? You know,
I know he has some kind of weapon that has a green light to it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if that was that or if that was some kind of beam weapon to keep people away.
Yeah, he's doing like. You're talking about when he.
Talking about when he uses the scary teeth, the dentures.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find like when he uses the scary teeth, and he's got
the
like.
Third issue.
I mean, you see like this image of like. Of what they're seeing.
What they're seeing.
Yeah, like him coming at them, and they're like it's some sort of monster, and he has like this like light, some kind of light that he's at one point where he's swinging around fighting people, and I can't find that page at the moment, but he definitely is trying to present fear again. It's kind of back to what you think of a Batman. Like the whole point he became Batman was to put fear in criminals, and he's actually going a step further in this version of like putting in fake teeth to look like he's some sort of monster. And I mean, and he actually like bites this guy with the fake teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, like the guy who's like the it's well, I don't know. Actually, maybe he does. Like it looks like he does, but then he kind of elbows him in the face, and so maybe it wasn't a bite. It was actually just his elbow hitting him in the face. But it's like
not entirely sure.
But
action, that's for sure.
And it's very, because you get that image, but you also get this very sort of, and you guys may have talked about this when I was trying to not get a phone call during this, but where's the image? Like you get this very like classic.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Batman, and then like that's right before all this stuff where he's invading this place and he puts the teeth in and he looks like a monster. Oh, this is the one I was talking about where he's like swinging around. He's got some kind of light thing.
Right.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but then that's him with the teeth in. He's putting the teeth in there.
Well, my interpretation of that whole section was that he released some sort of like neurotoxin or something like that to
like mess with them.
Yeah, to mess with the people. I could be wrong about that, but that was
what. I mean, if you look at the dogs have retina implants, which are cameras, and that's kind of the way they first see him.
Right. And, like way back early when when he's being chased and they
Right.
get the footage of him or whatever jumping across the buildings.
There's a lot of exactly.
They
Yeah.
get this, like one image before he like basically takes out all their cameras with some kind of EMP pulse, but also like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have another image like in the
Yeah,
camera,
that's a cool one.
and it's just like they can't get a good image of him for some reason, and like
You know, parts of like some of those images reminded me of The Cult a little bit. Just you know what I mean? You know, Bernie Wrightson work on the Cult. You know, especially with the just the hues of red and orange, yellow, whatever. You know, those it was almost like it's like distorted imagery throughout. There's a lot of distorted imagery. You know
I mean, you get a lot of images like this one where he's on the bike and get the like.
I forgot about that.
And then you get more of a classic, like the very next page.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, that's when the two bikes going off.
Yeah. Like, and you're getting like very different takes, and like here's one with him with the teeth in again,
and
then like those are on the same page. There's just a lot of like, there's a lot of variation in the way he portrays him in this, like in the images. Like it's there's some classic Batman, and then there's this like monster demon kind of almost Batman, and it's a very interesting take. I really I enjoy it. I'm not this is not a style I'm typically like a huge fan of.
That's the reason why I picked it up, because it was a style that was unique.
It's not like something that I look at this, and obviously this wasn't the original first cover. I look at that and I go, I don't know, but as you read this, it's really it really.
Yeah, I prefer the cover of the trade. Of the deluxe hardcover.
Yeah,
personally.
But it works. It fits for the story.
It's perfect for the story.
It's perfect for the story.
The story's gritty.
I keep making the same comparison, but if you isolate certain panels in Dark Knight Returns and you blow those up to cover size, you will be like, I don't know about this. You know what I mean? But then you read it from front to back and you're like, okay, this is perfect for this. And it's just similar. It's not necessarily similar storytelling, but it's a similar combination of unique story, new timeline, new timeline for the character, new age theoretically for the character, lots of changes to the political dynamic of the world. You know what I mean? Compared to just traditional Gotham City stories that we cover. Obviously you're dealing with Commissioner Gordon's grandson as he's not commissioner. Is he commissioner?
No, he isn't.
No, he's not commissioner.
I think they call him detective at one point.
He's a detective.
Yeah, he just regular. Yeah,
I think. Well, though he's clearly in charge at some he's fairly high up, because he would be in charge of this whole investigation if the feds didn't take it over. Yeah. But I don't know if they ever actually say what his rank is. Now that I say that,
I don't remember that part.
Captain. They call him captain. He's a captain.
Captain.
Hey, JP's a captain.
There you go. New cast of I guess what you would call the Oracle role. Yeah.
We got a new Oracle, sort of. We got a
new Oracle.
We got a new Leslie Tompkins.
The Oracle, the program. It's not the person, Tara, who's the daughter of Gross, who's the
she's like the inside detective,
right?
That helps Batman.
Yeah, she's
the coroner.
Which later on you end up finding out she's in cahoots with Gordon or whatever. With
Yeah,
Gordon's
because she's a
grandson.
medical examiner for
Right.
Gotham.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, Oracle's is actually the program that she uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the girl is using to like hack into all these systems and stuff. And
Right.
so let's dig into some of the
Let's look into the story a little bit.
let's dig in a little more into the story in terms of like there's a lot going on here, and like we said, there's a lot of questions that we just get no answers to. We pick up early on. It's supposedly like we see this Batman. It's clear, first of all, that he hasn't. We don't know if he's been operating or not because nobody seems to know who he is. Like we get the thing from the feds that like there's a file on him that supposedly this is a legend that used to exist, but but people thought was just that, a legend. Gordon gets his first Jim Gordon, our Jim Gordon's grandson, who's the Jim Gordon in this story, gets his first glimpse of him in this. So we don't know where he's been or if he's been operating and just hasn't been caught or what's going on there. We get kind of this new cast of characters. We really don't get much background on how they got hooked up with him at all. And they just kind of throws us into this world and goes. And it's like, you'll figure it out as we go kind of thing. Is like, but he doesn't, there's no exposition. There's no,
right. There's not even like a synopsis that says, like,
this is year 2039.
The last time, Gotham saw Batman was the year XYZ. Like, there's nothing like that. He creates the environment through the artwork, and he essentially dives right in and sets you kind of on a roller coaster ride nonstop for the 4 issues, right?
Yeah,
it's like you stepped in. The movie already started. You got there a little late. So whatever history there was of Batman, this Batman, they do bring it up that a little bit that he has been around,
right,
on a few things, and then you're in for the whole movie.
Yeah,
the whole movie there, and so it's like, you just walked into the movie and it's already.
Total side point that I'm about to bring up, but and I agree with Unruly. That's how he says that's how he prefers stories. He doesn't need shit spoon fed. Exactly, me too. And that's why, this is at the top of my list. Okay, very top of my list of Batman stories that I wish DC would make an animated film about. Either an adaptation or maybe even a sequel or something. You know what I mean? Like a prequel, even. I don't know. But I feel like this is an untapped universe on the. Well, I don't even know if it's a universe. It's just an untapped IP that they have as far as animated content, and I really feel like it could be cool animated. We may have been talking about that later on in the show, but I just wanted to throw that out there because it does have a movie-like quality to it. It really does.
I mean, the only kind of exposition, because you don't know, for the first whole issue, you have no idea. It's clear that there's some futuristic technology, but you have no idea what year this is. You have no idea, anything until you get kind of early in the second issue when they're, going through what the Gotham police has on the Batman, and they're going through the file, and they start listing off all these years.
Do you have this stuff in your...
Oh, in the back? Yeah. Well, mine is in the back.
On each book, there's on each cover, you find out the date and all that stuff, and it's like what you see in the news.
Yeah.
So that
that was all in the back. So I didn't.
In the back. Okay.
Oh yeah, I haven't even read that stuff yet.
Yeah, I didn't look at it until after I'd finished the story.
Yeah, it's all the reports.
Yeah.
As it goes on.
Cool.
And it gives you the date.
I know in the story they allude to Detective 27. They show an image of a swinging Batman. That's literally, it's just taken from the cover of Detective 27. They allude to a scene from the Batman 66 TV series.
Yep.
With Joker, I think. They allude to Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, like
the battle,
older, heavier
the fight.
Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So there's definitely like nods to prior Batman lore or canon or whatever we want to call it.
But it's really patchy. It's patchy history. It's just
exactly. And that was on the file. Well, I forget because there was 2 files. There was a file that
was on the file that GTPD still had. There was all these like sketchy images and reports.
Basically, the whole report is gone. This whole history on the police department is gone, but they have bits and pieces, which are the pictures.
Yeah.
Right. I just thought it was interesting that those were the 3 or 4 remaining, I guess, photos, right?
Yeah. Hey, Bear. I need to shout out this chat. I haven't done that for a while. Bear Island joined us. Stevie B joined us.
Hey, Stevie B.
K Titus hopped in. House Till the End hopped in. I think that's everybody that's hopped.
Let's talk about some of the villains. We have some of these like different agents, I guess, of the FPC. What was it? Pravdazska or something? Pravdazska?
How do you say that?
I can't say it.
I have no idea how the name is.
But he's like the main head guy, isn't he? He's the main head guy.
He's like the main villain almost, I would say.
Well, is he? I mean, like
Mercer.
Mercer is.
Yeah, I think him and Mercer are kind of the two main villains. We also get this Tibble.
Yeah.
Who, I don't know, like he's clearly like all in on this government, like running everybody's lives and that kind of stuff. But I don't know that he's truly a villain in this. He doesn't appear to know about the overarching plot.
Yeah, no, he's kind of like a thug.
He's just kind of an a-hole.
Yeah, he's like a thug.
Exactly. He's Agent A-hole.
Yeah, he's Agent A-hole who's giving Gordon a hard time. But I don't know that he's like in on the actual plot that's driving the story here. That's causing.
No, that's Mercer and the other guy.
Yeah, and the other guy.
Yeah, so Mercer is the telepath.
Yeah.
That's that comes up a couple of times in the story, and
we get this great scene with Mercer when he catches him, like when he's escaping from the building, and like he uses his ability to stop him, and confront him on the fire escape, and he's basically like, tell me your name, speak it, and he's trying to compel him to speak.
Right, he's trying to use his telepathic abilities to torture him out the truth, basically.
To get the truth out of him of who he is, and all he just keeps saying, Batman, I'm Batman.
Right, yeah, I love that.
Who are you really? I'm Batman. Who are you?
I am the guy that goes bump in the night. I like how he used that line, and it's almost like it's like a joke, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I so appreciated that part.
Hey, Sharon.
What's up?
Oh, not.
Whoop.
Sorry, that's my phone. I said hey to Sharon, and my phone thought I said hey Siri.
Sharon.
Yeah.
Siri says hey.
Sorry. So where are we in this story here?
I don't know. We're just talking about the plot.
Yeah, we were just kind of just did a little sidebar about the villains and stuff. I mean, there was also, there's also a new Robin here. So
that we get almost nothing from.
Right. We get very little answers about his backstory. We know he's a young kid that works at a motorcycle shop.
He was an orphan.
He was an orphan.
He was an orphan.
And he's working on the motorcycles, and they call him Robin. We don't know if that's his actual name or his code name for sure. It appears to be like code name, but we don't know that for sure.
Right.
And you really don't get much from him other than at the end he does get to put on the suit and ride a bike and help him a little bit.
Right, he gets to be the decoy Batman.
Yeah.
Which was really cool. I liked all those motorcycle jumping scenes.
The motorcycle sequence was really well done and
so
a lot of fun. I don't know that it was necessary, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. It was like It was like, here, I'm going to really stretch my artistic muscle here in these next 10 pages, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I mean, you get a lot of really cool shots of the two of them on the bikes riding around town. And even from the first, like, reveal when they see him on the bike. And then, yeah, like those, like, here, let me make it big there. Oh, keep showing it.
Oh,
There you go. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah. And then, yeah, the two of them together, and like, it's just, yeah, that's a really cool artistic sequence.
this series wasn't lacking action, that's for sure.
No.
Right. Well, I mean, the more, I guess, the 30,000-foot view stuff for the plot is that he witnesses a murder. Okay,
Right.
This version of Batman. The FPC, which is the feds, basically are trying to frame him because they got some footage of him running from dogs or whatever with wounded already.
For killing this FPC officer,
Right.
who
And he's hurt bad. He's hurt bad. That's how you get to meet the rest of his crew. Torah, the Oracle program.
Goss is is Tor's mother.
Goss and the new Robin guy. And then I forget exactly who turns him on to the intelligence that they have his blood sample.
Oh,
remember that?
It's Robin and Torah.
It's Robin and Torah.
Yeah, it's like she's hacking into the system, trying to help him why he's there, and she discovers that, like, because he's going in to figure out, to examine the corpse, to examine the dead guy, is why he goes, and he finds a fake tooth that, like, is something else that turns out to be like a microprocessor, like, with information on it. But while he's trying to get out of there, she discovers that they also have a blood sample, which they set up right at the beginning. They show him, like, when he's hurt and leaving, like, that he leaves a blood sample, and it shows them find it. So, like, it's something that's it's not like an out of left field kind of plot twist that you might get. Like, he sets it up. Like,
not to go backwards, but those scenes where he emerges, like, from near death or whatever, and he's and he doesn't. All of a sudden, it's not Batman. It's the guy who is Batman on the page. I found those pages fascinating. I was looking for any clue whatsoever that it was Bruce Wayne or Dick Grayson or whatever. I was like, what Easter eggs are on these pages?
Well, and you get, like, and it's very, like, interesting. Like, you get that he's older,
definitely.
But then you get, like, a lot of scenes where they don't really ever give you a clear look at his face.
Yeah.
Like, he's put this, like, robe with a hood on, and he's walking around, and you get, like you never get, like, a good look at him. Like, it goes on for pages.
Yeah.
And so you don't know who, like, is this Bruce? Is this Dick? Is this Damian? Is this, like, Tim? Like, there's no like you don't really, like, have a clue who this Batman is really, like, throughout most of the story.
Right.
And even at the end, I don't know if you truly know. Like,
I think
Gordon thinks he knows, but, like, does he?
Well, to me, one of the coolest parts of the plot is, they find out that the FCP has a blood sample. Then they do the whole mission, right? To infiltrate the FCP. He's doing these freaking Mission Impossible style, like, dives down, like, elevator shafts and whatnot. That's when he puts in the teeth and all that, and takes care of business and whatnot. And then he gets to the lab, he opens the refrigerator, and he sees all the blood samples, and they're all his blood samples, right? It's not just like he was looking for one, right?
Well, no, they're all coded, so he doesn't.
Oh, they're all coded. So he doesn't know which one.
He doesn't know which one.
Right. So he doesn't know which one is his. So therefore, the solution is blow up the whole freaking, floor, right? Blow up the lab.
Blow up the lab, yeah.
Right. So that eliminates that thread of the feds potentially finding out who he is just based on a blood sample.
Right.
Because the assumption is his blood sample or samples were in those, coded samples that, that he couldn't tell which was which. And that creates kind of a, I don't know. That creates creates a crescendo of more curiosity for me, because that's kind of like halfway through the story, right? Like the midpoint, and you're like, oh, because like leading into that scene, I'm like, when I first read it, I was like, I'm foreshadowing. Okay, well, maybe we're gonna figure out his identity through that, maybe, but no, that gets all. That gets closed. That gets closed up right away, and you're like, "Oh, okay, all right, that's not."
Well, and there's really there's actually, and we've talked mostly about the Batman side of things, but there's really two parallel stories going on along here. Where you got Batman basically is investigating, witnesses this murder of a FPC officer. He gets hurt. He gets involved. They're framing him. He's trying to figure out what's going on, what exactly happened. Meanwhile, we get Jim Gordon's grandson, Jim Gordon, who's looking very much like Jim Gordon.
Jim Gordon the third.
Jim Gordon the third. And he is the cop that should be in charge, that the feds are basically cutting out of this investigation.
Right.
He knows something is not right. He has his grandfather's instincts. He knows something is not right. So he starts digging himself, and he discovers that the Batman is innocent of this. He doesn't know anything else about the Batman, but he knows he didn't do this. And so the two of them are investigating kind of on parallel paths, each getting pieces of the story without talking or communicating with the other, of what's actually happening. And through that, as the reader, you're getting the larger story.
Yeah, and how Batman is that? I mean, that's that's how Batman is done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't say he went against sort of tradition or anything like that, because he really didn't. He used a lot of the same tropes you're familiar with. He just put a spin on it, a very unique spin on it.
There's a lot. We talked earlier. There's a lot of Dark Knight Returns in this. There's a lot of year one aspect for me, because it's very much a Gordon and Batman story. These two separate paths. I got a lot of year one vibes just from the way he used and told the story using the two characters.
Year one vibes on the story for sure. Dark Knight Returns more on the art, I would say. Yeah.
Hey, we had Hero and the Kid drop in. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, man?
The Snake drop in. Thank you. Stay Puff is in the house.
Yeah, little Puff.
Unruly made this comment, and I think this is way up Unruly's alley.
Yeah, it really is. I think it really is.
So yeah, he's talking about the Jim Gordon is far too tired to go with a new name for child. So we don't actually know. The assumption is this is Barbara's kid, but we don't actually know if it's Barbara or James Gordon Jr.'s son at some point. You get the impression that it's Barbara's kid, and that she just never married. That's why he's still a Gordon. But they don't really talk about.
They don't really, they don't fill in those holes.
The only time we get that is at the end. So, trying to figure stuff out, he goes out to the country house of the Gordons and goes and looks through his grandfather's stuff and finds his old computer and is trying to get in through the password. And he uses Barbara as a potential password. Is the only time we hear her name. So we don't know if she's his mom or what.
And that password didn't work.
Nope.
And that password didn't work. Well, he's trying to get into the Batman file.
Right.
So,
what I want to know is what led him to just guess Bruce Wayne.
But he's reading through files at the same time.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
He was reading through files, and he was guessing anything. You see him guess
he was
Joker
guessing.
And Oswald Cobblepot, and he's guessing all kinds of crazy shit.
Basically, any person that was relevant to Gotham when his grandfather was commissioner, he was typing in there.
The name.
He types in Bat Signal and Bat File and Batmobile and Harvey Dent and he's just running through a whole bunch of ideas. You just see him, he's like, I'm running out of ideas. So Crime Alley
was a last ditch effort to get in.
And even when he types it, it's like sigh, get the thing. You seem like, I don't know if I can get it in focus, but he like sighs. He's like, Bruce Wayne. So,
yeah, I mean, that was kind of the point of the story where it's like, where I started wondering if this was really going to be, like if we were really going to get a traditional ending or not. I felt, and we didn't, you know what I mean?
no.
Like,
so basically, the two of them figure out that there's something not right with this case, obviously.
Right.
And Batman only figures out what they were after, which was what was on this tooth.
Right.
Which
yeah.
a plan for basically COVID-19.
A little extra.
Like it's basically this
Flesh eater
plague that spreads like the flu that actually, although it like actually eats your flesh until there's nothing left. And like that they've designed and that can like, but they also have like they can design it so that it leaves certain people alone, like certain genotypes alone. And so that's what these guys are after, this kind of ultimate weapon. Right. And yeah, like basically they cut them off because Batman
he just releases it publicly.
He just releases it and the antidote. Like,
right.
Yeah, it was
and he apparently left out some ingredients of the just in case. Yeah. So really that he released he released a recipe that wouldn't work. And then even if people figured out a way to make it work, he put out the antidote or whatever.
He put the antidote out as well. So to kind of like basically make it sort of worthless because now everyone has it and no one has it because everyone has it. So
we're doing it, I guess.
Yeah. And so it goes through all of this. They capture the bad guys and we get the end and him and Gordon are talking. And Gordon gives him the file, like all the stuff his grandfather had on Batman. Like, here it is. And kind of like the scene. And basically he refers to him, but I'm not going to say a word of it to anyone, Bruce. So he calls him Bruce.
Yeah.
But the look on his face is, I don't know if that's right or not. like.
Yeah, it's almost like he's saying it in quotation marks or something. You know? Like, I don't know.
I mean, actually, do you think this Batman was Bruce, or through the years somebody else took the mantle as it went on? Or this is a guy who's into Batman who took the mantle as Batman and to do Batman's job, and Gordon calling him Bruce is like, is like, hey, Bruce, because he's doing Bruce's job.
Well, I can tell you what I think. What I know is I have no idea because there's been no confirmation that, to my knowledge, there's been no interview. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done like Harvard education level research project on what Paul Pope has said about it, like in every interview he's ever done or whatever. But I don't have any clear confirmation out there that I'm aware of that that it is a definitively that this is Bruce, the same Bruce Wayne from Court of Owls, whatever, like. Well, this came out before Court of Owls, right? Yeah, right. 2007. So the same Bruce Wayne from whatever, first volume of Batman. I don't know. It's
so if you go back to the scene like in issue 2 where they're going through the file that was left, and they're talking about the fact that they have voice recordings, they have handwriting samples, and they're the same. They all match, and they match all the way up basically through 2016. So from 1939 through 2016 is where the timeline is here. Now we're at 2039 in the book.
Right. So a 23-year gap.
So there's a 23-year gap. But they're saying it's matched this whole time. So they
also bring the idea that that voice
that could be forged. That could be fake. So there's yeah, it's just very interesting. They don't give you there's no answer here. Like if you're looking for the answer, it's not here. It's like Gordon calls him Bruce, but you don't even know if that's because he calls him that because he's Bruce or because he's just like carrying on what Bruce did, or like, yeah, there's a very, it's all, there's questions, there's no answers to this kind of stuff, and then it just ends. And like, that's the end. I mean,
well, one thought I had was that Damian Wayne made his first appearance, I think, in like Batman, 650 something?
Yeah.
And that was in like, 2006, 2005?
Yeah, a little before this, I think.
A little before this. So I was trying to do the math in my head about like how old he might be at this juncture. I don't know.
Well, but Bruce would have had to have, like, if the timelines match, like, Bruce would have had to have Damian when he was like 70 or 80. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like, I don't know.
For that,
he did bring up that one of the, I forgot what date it was, they associate the picture with, but they did bring up the idea, he looks heavier in this one, in this picture.
That would be 86 one.
Yeah, than he did in the other ones. So it's like, so are you assuming that in this world, or that somebody took the mantle up at that time that wasn't Bruce Wayne? And
I mean, I interpreted that comment about the weight thing, meaning that it was just like a nod to Dark Knight Returns, old Batman, old Bruce Wayne when he got bigger, But
there's another thing that we've kind of left out in here, like in this discussion about who Bruce is. Like right at the beginning, they talk about he makes the 20-foot leap across the buildings. And they talk about, he's got to be wearing some kind of enhancements, but he doesn't appear to be wearing enhancements. And you see the suit later, and he doesn't appear to have enhancements.
Right.
So like there's a couple things going on here. One, it could be Damian or somebody like taking up the mantle, or something we haven't seen has happened to Bruce that has made him not more than mortal. Like,
right.
Batman has always been mortal.
Batman is now an X-Man.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's something has happened to him that has made him age slower, or actually has made him younger than he was at some point, or has allowed him abilities he didn't used to have, or someone with some abilities potentially has taken up the mantle. Like, there's a lot here that you just like, and they never explain how he makes the jump.
I think that's part of the genius of this freaking story, though, is like, you walk away with it with these kind of questions and these kind of conversations to talk about with other people who have read it. Yeah. And it has so much potential, to be revisited or whatever. I mean, and maybe it never will be revisited, but
maybe not.
Even if that's the case, I'm going to be fine with it, just because I love how much this makes my brain think, or just, it just leaves you with, it leaves you to allow yourself to have your own interpretation of things. I'm the type of guy that loved the ending of The Sopranos. Okay. Spoiler alert for freaking 20 years ago or whenever that ended. But, at the end of the show, you don't know if Tony Soprano got whacked or he made it through or whatever. It just cuts out, fades to black. Like, and you didn't expect it. Right.
Right.
And a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of people, on the other side, there are people that did like that, like me, and, like having sort of interpretive endings and things. I like having that kind of interpretive ending, and that's kind of the way I felt here. But instead of leaving you completely in the dark, you did at least get Jim Gordon's grandson saying Bruce, and a look on this Batman's face that you can interpret for yourself. And then he's about to start asking a question, and then Gordon cuts him off, and he's like, "I'm doing this for the same reason that you are. Now you better disappear." You know what I mean? And he disappears into the night, basically. And that's the way the book, actually ends. And I thought that was perfect. I didn't really want more closure than that necessarily.
Right.
That's just me, though. That's just me. Someone else might read that and just be totally frustrated. I don't know.
Well, just it left me wondering why if that was actually Bruce, or he was saying Bruce he was okay with what this other person was doing, giving his blessing, that he is actually Batman, and so he was calling Bruce to say, yes, you're Batman. And I'm assuming that the person who has the mantle, whether it's Bruce himself or someone else, knows the history of Batman. But that also, did you find it odd that in the beginning, when Batman is getting away from the feds or the government soldiers or whatever they call themselves, that he hid behind the door with the kid in the room?
I like that scene. Yeah.
And the kid had a Superman, didn't say anything, but he had a Superman doll.
He had the Superman toy and he gave it to him.
Yeah. Right. He at least showed it to him. It's like, so the kid knew Superman. Does he know? But the Gotham didn't. I can't even talk anyways. They didn't know Batman, but the kid knew Superman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they talk about that all the capes are gone. So, like we don't know why or what for sure what happened. Like why all of them. The long lost. They refer to him a couple times as like the long lost cape or whatever, the one that nobody ever got closure on. The government apparently shut down all the superheroes, and Batman is the one they never got any closure on. So you can see, though, if Superman's this sort of legend, that there's probably toys and that kind of stuff, and maybe that people would know more about him, whereas Batman, because they never got closure, they've like tried to wipe his existence away, sort of.
Well, it seems like Gordon took everything out of Gotham. He took every file he could out of Gotham, and they, to the point where the Gotham PD didn't have anything other than a few pictures or whatever. So, but it was a total erase of Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just foresee 5 years later, like Gordon's in trouble somehow or whatever. There's a way to bring this story back. There's a way to, I don't know if Paul Pope wants to do it, but there's definitely ways.
There's a lot here. Because
it's so open ended. It's not like, so he left all his options open. Really.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of things. We've read several stories, and I know they've done follow-ups to like Earth One, and I've heard that they've talked about doing follow-ups to like Gotham by Gaslight and all these. Well, they kind of did. There's one that's not very good that somebody else.
That one sucks. Yeah.
But I've never heard anybody talk I'd never heard of this, and never heard anybody talk about doing a follow-up. But he's created something here that could easily be followed up. I don't know that I'd want anybody to do it that wasn't him.
No, it would have to be him. No, there's no way. Yeah.
Well, you guys, I think you already covered the covers earlier, like your favorite one, Kavi.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're all great. They're all great.
Which is the one for number.
That's
3?
My favorite. Yeah.
I think that's my favorite too.
That was 3, right?
Yeah.
I love that one.
So, I guess, where would you put this in your favorite Batman stories? I think we're to that point.
Yeah. Do you have the list handy, or do we have to memorize it again?
I can put the list again.
This is going to get harder and harder.
It gets harder and harder every time. I've just started putting them into tiers. Here, let me make myself the bigger one. So let's just go through. These are in order we've read them, not in my ranking order on this point. There's Year One, Long Halloween, Hush, Court of Owls.
We just so happened to put our number one favorite first. So
yeah, we did. Death in the Family, Mad Love, Black Mirror, Killing Joke, Gotham Central Volume 1, Harleen, Earth 1, Gotham by Gaslight, Curse of the White Knight, Under the Red Hood, Batman TMNT Volume 1, The Cult, and now Year 100.
That's right.
So where does this fall kind of on the rankings for you? Or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. I mean, for me, it falls. If we've done 18 so far, you can break it up into 3 groups of 6, right? Like, so let's just start there. Right?
Okay. Well, yeah, I have it in more tiers than that, but yeah, you could do that.
But those are three kind of solid chunks of like, these are my top tier, these are my middle tier, and then these are my bottom tier, right? For those 18 stories.
Yeah.
This makes it to the bottom of my top tier or the top of the middle tier. Like, so I would probably put this in that 6/7 spot. 5 even, arguably, for me. Because I really, really, really do like it a lot. So I kind of put it in that 5-6 kind of range. So that's pretty
5
strong.
or 6, you're putting it behind Year One, Long Halloween, Court of Owls, The Cult, and ahead of The White Knight and Hush.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. For me, it probably falls right almost exactly in the middle.
Yeah.
So I don't think it quite, like I have mine, like I have like 5 tiers, but like if you did the 6 thing, it wouldn't make the top 6. But that would, others that doesn't make the top 6 would be like Hush, Black Mirror, Harleen, Under the Red Hood, Gotham Central would be kind of that next tier. And it would probably go behind Hush and Black Mirror, but ahead of the other 3 for me. It's like right there. So yeah.
I would say that I like this more than Hush. I would say I would probably have a mental debate whether I like it more than Black Mirror. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a hard time like saying, yeah, it's like solidly in my 5 spot or solidly in my 6 spot, but it's in that range. You know what I mean? I've only read it twice. So I've only read it twice in a period of 4 years. So
yeah.
I'm not trying to overread this one. I'm trying to like let time go by before I revisit. Like I probably won't read it again for another 2 years, But that said, so it's not like Year One where I literally read it every single year. You know what I mean? Dark Knight we haven't done yet, obviously, so we don't have it on the list, and I think that changes the whole list, obviously, once we do add
probably.
it.
I haven't read that in a really long time. It'll be interesting to see what I think of it now. I assume I'll still love it, but it'll be interesting having read some of these that I'd never read before.
Right.
Wolf, where does it you don't have to rank it ours, but where does it kind of fall for you as a story, as a Batman story? Like where would you put it kind of just in general?
I put it up middle high, because I really enjoy the story. And hey, thank you for bringing it up because I haven't cracked this open in 14 years. So So I mean, I really enjoyed the story when I first read it, and I enjoyed it again when I read it again. So yeah, I mean, it's not your regular Batman story.
Right.
The regular characters aren't there. It's
a brand new experience.
You say that the regular characters aren't there, but Batman and Gordon are very much Batman and Gordon.
Well, there's a version of a lot of your regular characters, either with different names, but they play the same role, or literally the same names.
Yeah.
But you don't know their identity.
You have a Gordon. I think I don't care.
You have a Gordon. You definitely have the Gordon Batman dynamic.
You'll always have that.
Yeah.
But Robin wasn't in.
Robin doesn't play a real role.
No, he's there to help. He's the mechanic, and that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, and the girl, like we have the coroner who's kind of the Leslie Tompkins / Alfred putting back together role a little bit. We have the medical examiner, I should say. And then we have the girl who's kind of the computer background, but neither of those really fit exactly.
Exactly. And she's only there because she's the daughter of the medical examiner.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's how they, okay, she's the daughter, but she happens to know computers and she has the program called Oracle, and that's how they get into stuff. But it's not like this is the peg that fits in that hole. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's almost like they're, I look at Batman in 2 different ways, like main canon universe / ongoing titles like Detective and Batman, main title stuff. And then the sort of like, okay, here's like the visionaries that go and tackle it in a different way. Sean Murphy, Paul Pope, Frank Miller, like these, and we're going to make combined lists and whatever, but really they're like 2 different categories of Batman storytelling. And if I look at it just in that, if I were looking at this in two different lists, like one main style story stuff, and then two like these alternate kind of visionary stories or whatever.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites. Like behind Frank Miller's, first two Batman works.
Yeah,
it's up there. Like I prefer this Paul Pope story to all the Sean Gordon Murphy stuff that I've read. I really like the Sean Gordon Murphy stuff, but to me, this offers but the Sean Gordon Murphy stuff clearly says this is a different universe. This is an Elseworlds. This is totally what I want to do, and I'm doing it in a different way, which is awesome. Yeah. But what Paul Pope does here, he messes with your understanding of, is this real? Is this main universe? Is this all Elseworlds? I don't know. You know what I mean? And that sense of mystery that you feel is what adds to how special this is to me. So that's it. That's it, really. I mean, I know I kind of was the one pushing for this and pushing for this and pushing for this for like 6 months.
Just every time we talked about it. So
yeah, exactly. So
hey, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I will say, like, we've done the last two, for the most part, everything we had done, not everything, but most of what we've done, I'd read before. There's a few things that have been new. The last two we've done have been Cult and this. And those are two stories I'd never really heard of.
Those are both freaking awesome.
And like, these were two Batman stories I'd never heard of, never like had brought up to me. I never see them on greatest Batman story lists, and they both deserve to be there. In my opinion.
They do.
They're both fantastic stories and versions of Batman. I recommend it. If you haven't picked it up, you should give it a try. If you're a Batman fan, it's different. There's no doubt about it. It's just a different take, but it's Batman, and it's really well done.
Definitely,
it's a must. It's easy to say, but it's the must. It's a must to have, just because it doesn't just fit in the regular Batman
box. Yeah,
exactly.
It's outside the box.
It's outside the box.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know we haven't scheduled anything next for Gotham City Chronicles. So
yeah, my box of trades that you opened up the other day, mine hasn't arrived yet.
It still hasn't come yet?
No, so I don't know where the hell it is. So
well, hopefully we'll get something scheduled here before long. We got a few options of coming in of different stuff we can do for Batman Another Chronicles. So hopefully we'll get one scheduled.
I think I have maybe one or two of them already, but
if you are interested in joining us for one of these conversations, if you have a favorite Batman story that we haven't touched on yet, hit us up, let us know. You are always welcome if you're a Batman fan, or even if you're just, casual and you want to be a part of it. Let us know. You guys got anything coming up that you want to talk about real quick before we get out of here? Wolf, you do this show on another person's channel on Tuesdays, I know.
What else is, Rochelle, Lame or Frame. You guys have to show up. It's a great time. And we got I'm not telling you what the subject is, but if you're a child of the 80s, you're going to love it.
Nice.
You're going to love it.
So anything on your channel?
I'm lacking. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's okay.
You got all those comics back there, man.
Look at all that books.
It goes that way, too. No, it goes that way.
Yeah, that way.
It keeps going. Yeah. Kavi, what about you, man?
I got a couple, I don't know, maybe a month ago, I made a trade, or maybe even longer than that. I made a trade with Tacoma Comics.
Much longer.
Yeah, it must have been longer, but I made a trade, like a trade/sale, essentially, right? Deal with him, where I sent him my Star Wars #1 CGC 9.2, which was it's now my under copy, or whatever, since I upgraded. And so I sold him that, cash plus trade.
Yeah.
Sold him that, and he sent me a whole bunch of Star Wars like action figures and some comics, toy stuff that we kind of talked about to represent a certain dollar value or whatever. And then he gave me cash for the rest, for the Star Wars one. And when his package arrived, it was like really in like the throes of like COVID being really bad here. And I had a lot going on. And during the process of, you know, whatever the hell was going on in my life at the time, I lost it. I lost it in my own place. And couldn't find it for several weeks. And it turns out it was like buried like in one of my closets or something like that, like behind some already open boxes. So I was just like not really looking over there. So I found it, long story short, and I found it like 2 weeks ago and I still haven't unboxed it. So I hit up Tacoma. So he's going to hop on with me at like 3:30 p.m. Eastern on my channel tomorrow. And we'll hang out, me and Tacoma, and we'll unbox that. So that's really all I got, for this weekend. And then, I know I'm doing a bunch of shows on your channel for the indie show and other things.
Yeah, most of those are out of way, but yeah.
Yeah, but you know, I did drop my room tour video / Man Cave Comics 250 subscriber support video yesterday. So if you are curious about, you know, my comic room stuff and what I have on the walls and stuff you don't see just immediately behind me on the camera when I'm doing my streams and things like that, you can go check out that video on my channel now. So that's it.
I'll do my whatever show tomorrow night on Sunday. I have I'll be on D&D tomorrow night on White Whale's channel. I'm gonna be I am gonna try to drop a couple things this week, but I'm mostly gonna be gone. I got my Man Cave contest entry recorded. I just need to get it ready to go. Probably maybe Tuesday I'll shoot for putting that out, and then I'm gonna try to get a Let's Collect finished and sent out this week. For Indie Show, Kavi just talked about it. Nothing this coming week. The next week after that, we're doing God Country. Mr. Garrel, The Boy Who Had Seven, and Backseat Driver and I are doing God Country.
Cool.
Then 2 weeks from Thursday, we're doing with Kavi will be part of the crew for Sagas Volume 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. Sorry,
2 and 3.
Yeah. So that's some of the stuff I got coming up. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. Bearded Comics Bro, Biggie Shack, and Ruli's still in here, I think. Maybe.
Later, everybody.
So later, everyone, and we will see you next time.